Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. All right, buckle up for today's tale about Karen, a self-appointed hot tub police officer who decides that kids having a good time is somehow her worst nightmare. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen tries to kick kids out of hot tub. Just today, this strange and petty incident unfolded, and I'm still shaking my head at the absurdity of it all. My spouse, kids, and I are staying at a fairly nice hotel while on vacation. The hotel has a great setup, a pool, a hot tub, and even a water slide. It's perfect for families, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. The atmosphere was relaxed, with no rowdy or screaming kids, just people having a good time. At one point, two young boys, probably around 8 or 9 years old, decided to try out the hot tub. They were cautious and well-mannered as they entered, not splashing or making noise. For a while, everything was peaceful. That's when Karen showed up. Karen looked to be in her late 30s with short hair and a tall, thin frame wrapped in a robe. She had the unmistakable air of someone who believed the world revolved around her. As soon as she noticed the boys in the hot tub, her face twisted into an expression of utter disdain. She marched straight over to the first boy, finger already wagging. "You can't be in here. Get out of there right now," she snapped. The poor boy just sat there, confused and unsure of what he'd done wrong. I wasn't paying full attention at first, but her tone was sharp enough to catch my ear. When I glanced over and saw her berating this kid for absolutely no reason, I exchanged a look with my husband across the pool. Without a word, we both began walking toward the hot tub stairs. By this time, Karen had moved on to the second boy, who was simply sitting on the edge of the hot tub with his feet in the water. "You're not allowed here either," she barked. "Go on, leave." The boy, now visibly upset, slipped off the edge and shuffled away, his head hanging low. He went straight to his mother, who looked equally puzzled and hurt. Karen, meanwhile, strutted back to her poolside chair, looking triumphant as if she had just saved the world from some great injustice. The most ridiculous part? She wasn't even planning to use the hot tub herself. She just sat there smugly drying off with her towel like she'd accomplished something noble. Cue the pettiness. Without even needing to discuss it, several of us adults around the pool called over our kids, every single one of them, and directed them into the hot tub. We even invited the two boys Karen had scolded to join in. They hesitated at first, but after some encouragement, they climbed back into the hot tub grinning. It was glorious. The hot tub was suddenly packed with kids, far more than before, while the adults stood watch nearby. The energy around the hot tub became playful and loud, but not disruptive, just enough to make Karen uncomfortable. One parent, standing with her arms crossed, made a point of locking eyes with Karen and said, loud enough for her to hear, "Kids should be allowed to enjoy their vacation too, don't you think?" Karen's smug expression evaporated. She shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her eyes darting toward the now packed hot tub. The rest of us adults didn't say a word to her. We just stood there, watching her with silent defiance, as if daring her to try anything else. Karen lasted all of 3 minutes before she grabbed her towel, snapped something unintelligible at her husband, and stormed off, clearly fuming. Her husband trailed after her, looking like he wanted to be anywhere but there. Once she was gone, we all relaxed and had a good laugh about the situation. The two boys and their mother came over to thank us. "I don't know what her problem was," the mom said, shaking her head, "but I really appreciate you all stepping in." "No problem," one dad replied. "We're all here to enjoy ourselves. She was just being mean for no reason." The boys, back to their cheerful selves, thanked us too. "This is the best hot tub ever," one of them said, making everyone chuckle. Sometimes it's little acts of solidarity that make all the difference. Karen may have thought she could ruin those kids' day, but instead she ended up packing her bags early. Props to the two boys for getting back in and reclaiming their vacation fun, and major respect to all the parents who stepped up to create a teachable moment. And our second story. My wife's subtle but brilliant payback. I couldn't be prouder of my wife's modest but well-executed petty payback this weekend. I started a job 3 hours from home recently. While waiting for my wife and kids to move, I've been renting a house during the week and driving home on weekends. The routine's exhausting, but it makes me appreciate the little things, like a wife who can bear bothersome neighbors. The neighbor across the street parks his truck across our driveway, which is annoying. Okay, it's a public street, therefore it's fine. Our neighborhood has tiny streets, so the truck makes entering and exiting the driveway awkward. Although it wouldn't ignite a neighborhood war, it's one of those everyday annoyances that gets annoying with time. When I expressed it to my wife, she always said, well, if it bothers you so much, say something. I didn't because why? I can't instruct him where to put his truck, so we ignored it until weekend. As we moved, I parked the moving truck in the driveway to unload boxes. My wife carefully parked her car on the street instead than down the road or in front of our house. She placed her car across from their driveway as they typically park their truck in front of ours. When I noticed, I exclaimed, "Did you seriously just park there?" Her smile was sly. Yep, see how they enjoy it. It made me laugh. Though small and insignificant, it felt like justice. It wasn't the first time their parking decisions made our lives worse. It was strangely satisfying to watch her get retribution. When we stopped unpacking that afternoon, we saw the neighbor going to their car. She nudged me, murmuring, "Here we go." The neighbor entered his truck and started it. Reversing out of the driveway without hitting our car was awkward. We watched their truck through the curtains in the living room like two kids. The truck slowly returned, the driver visibly straining to angle it appropriately. The front wheels turned, straightened, and turned again, like witnessing a bad Tetris game in real life. The truck emerged onto the street after what seemed like a lifetime. Our house was pointed to by the driver as he drove off. That's the look of someone who just got a taste of their own medicine, I grinned. My wife crossed her arms, beaming. Now they know. Maybe they'll reconsider parking in front of our driveway. The mental image of you two spying on the neighbor's awkward exit like a couple of secret agents is hilarious. The fact that it didn't escalate into an argument makes it even better. Just a simple, how do you like them apples moment. Hopefully your neighbor got the message loud and clear, and this will make them think twice before blocking your driveway again. And our last story. Neighbor keeps parking in my driveway. Decades ago, I achieved a milestone that meant everything to me. Buying my first house at just 25 years old. It wasn't an easy feat. I worked long hours as a laborer, scraped by on cheap meals, and diligently saved every penny for the down payment. Coming from modest means, this was my shot at building something for myself, and I wasn't about to let anything ruin it. The house itself wasn't perfect. It needed work to pass the strict requirements of a conventional loan, especially since it had aluminum wiring instead of copper. An inspector gave me a list of improvements the seller had to make for the house to qualify. Realistically, I knew the sellers wouldn't invest a dime into these fixes, so I asked if I could tackle them myself. They agreed, and for 3 grueling days, I toiled to meet every requirement on the list. By the time the inspector returned, the only lingering issue was the soil not sloping away from the foundation properly. When the inspector flagged it, I leveled with him. Look, I'm the buyer, and I'll fix it properly after I move in. I just need to secure the loan first. Maybe he saw how hard I was working to make this dream come true because he approved the house, and I officially became a homeowner. No sooner had I started moving in than I encountered my first problem. A neighbor 2 houses down kept parking in my driveway. Not just once, but every time I came back with a truckload of stuff. At first, I didn't even know who owned the car, so I started knocking on doors. Eventually, another neighbor pointed me toward the culprit's house. I knocked on his door, waited, knocked again, nothing. So I raised my voice, still trying to remain polite. "Hey, I need this car moved. It's in my driveway, and I'm moving in." 10 minutes passed with no response. Frustrated, I yelled through the door, "Fine, I'm calling a tow truck. I'll leave the company's card on your porch." That got his attention. The door flew open and the guy bolted out to find his car sitting in my driveway. He glared at me. "You lied." "Not yet," I said, "but the tow truck's on its way." I even threw in the name of the company, Tow Jam, to make it sound more official. He grumbled, but he moved his car. I thought that would be the end of it. But no, the next day, this genius decided to come home and drive through my yard to get to his driveway. He tore up the grass I just started taking pride in. Fuming, I walked over to his house and knocked again. This time he answered with a sharp, "What?" before I could even speak. I kept my cool. Look, I don't want this to happen again. Stay off my property. Actions have consequences. He laughed in my face and slammed the door. That was the last straw. If this guy wanted to play games, I could play too. I went to the hardware store, bought a couple of metal spikes, and discreetly planted them along the edge of my yard where he'd been driving through. They weren't visible to the naked eye, but perfectly placed to puncture a tire or two if he tried it again. Sure enough, a few days later, he made another attempt to cut through my yard. Moments later, there was a knock at my door. It was him, red-faced and yelling. "You're gonna pay for my tires," he screamed. "This is illegal. I'll sue you." I leaned against the doorframe, calm as could be. "Illegal? You drove onto private property, my property, and destroyed my yard. Maybe you should sue yourself for trespassing." He huffed and puffed, but knew he didn't have a leg to stand on. After that, he never parked in my driveway or drove through my yard again. Eventually, I repaired the grass he ruined and settled into my home without further incident. While I wouldn't recommend metal spikes as a first course of action, sometimes a little creative problem solving is all it takes to deal with a disrespectful neighbor. You gave him plenty of chances. And honestly, he earned those flat tires. It's the perfect mix of justice and teaching a hard-learned lesson without going nuclear. The best part's how it all wrapped up with you finally getting the peace and space you worked so hard for. This guy's audacity to destroy your yard after you just poured sweat into that house? It's satisfying to know that persistence and a little ingenuity won out in the end. You earned that victory. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.